Service providers have raised concerns about delayed payments from government departments. They claim that this has affected their businesses and even forced some to let go of their employees. The Public Works and Infrastructure Department claims it's making good progress with 30-day payments to service providers. The department says it used to have more than 11,000 unpaid invoices overdue for more than 30 days before the introduction of the new system. For more on this, I'm joined now by the Public Works and Infrastructure Minister, Patricia de Lille, who joins me for that conversation. So, Minister, I see that there's a memo that was sent to you by your Acting Director General. It talks about moving away from month-to-month leases. What is that all about, and what has been the impact in terms of payment of rentals and the likes?
Well, first of all, Tulas, I have warned the department that the Auditor General has warned us that to pay leases on a month-to-month basis is irregular expenditure. In March of 2021, I then put an advertisement in all the newspapers calling on all the landlords to contact us so that we can renew their contracts. Some did come forward, some did not come forward. Then in December last year, October last year, I instructed the department to stop paying month-to-month leases as from the 31st of December 2021. Thereafter, we were then able to regularize a number of leases and sign contracts. There were some landlords that did not come forward because they were overcharging us over the years and therefore wanted to remain on the month-to-month leases, while we are saying that there is a guideline from National Treasury. We have been overpaying you and we need to regularize that. Now, yes, the overpayment is also the question. Who authorized the overpayment in the first place? That is where corruption has come in. And now that we have put our foot down to say, you will no longer milk government with high leases. We spend 5 billion rand a year on letting in from the private sector. So that was my directive to the Acting Director General. And we put a special team together to start negotiating with all the landlords. I must say, and most of them we receive favorable responses. But from now onwards, we're not going to allow that government be overcharged. Our fiscus is in a bad space. We need every cent in this country for service delivery.
But of course, part of how this has played out, Minister, is that you've had a situation where we are told that Minister Senzo Mchunu and his deputies and Director General and I suppose other officials as well have been locked out by the landlord there. They are feeling, and they are being the department and other departments, they say you as Public Works and Infrastructure are their landlord and it's out of their hands. It's an untenable situation, is it not, where you have a service provider, even we're told, bringing in armed guards to lock up the entire building?
Well, definitely that is wrong and it is illegal. We are turning to the courts tomorrow because we were never served with any court order. So it was just a decision by the service provider to lock their offices and denied even National Treasury access to their buildings. We will be going to court on an urgent basis to force them to open the buildings, to force them to come back to the table and charge government the reasonable prices, not overpricing. National Treasury had spent at least a monthly 1 million rand on rent. And National Treasury also said we're no longer going to be paying this high amount of rents. And then we interacted with the service provider. So we will leave it to the hands of the court tomorrow when we go for an urgent interdict to allow the landlord to open up those offices and come back to the negotiating table. I have been part of meetings with this particular landlord, and we have been able to solve many problems. The problem has come whereby the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure, where we had dispute with some of the leases, that the department then did not pay the whole portfolio leases. But we have corrected that now. And I really want to ask all landlords to come to the table, let us negotiate, let us stay within the guidelines of what government is allowed and prepared to pay for leases. Then I think we can find an amicable solution.
So, but Minister, someone watching this might say, what did you expect the landlord to do? Because you were not paying, if I understand you correctly, in that you wanted them to move from the month-to-month situation to a more firmed up situation which avoids irregular expenditure, which raises the ire of the Auditor General, and rightly so. But I don't know if it was open to you to then simply stop paying.
We have got a contract with the landlord, and we have raised the dispute around payments with the landlord. If the landlord wanted to lock their buildings, they should have also turned to court, because we have got a contract, to then come with an eviction order. But to simply just lock the buildings one morning and say, now we're not allowing you in, that is what we are challenging and what we say it's illegal. I do agree with you. That is why we have got the 30-day payment. For the month of February, we paid 375 million rand to service providers. And the 30-day payment is a requirement in law. We don't have a choice. We must pay within 30 days. But where there are disputes, we then engage with the landlords to say, please, can we sit down? You have been overcharging us for all of these years. And in some cases, with the permission of some of the officials within the Department of Public Works. So we want to really, one, stop corruption. And we want to listen to the Auditor General and not allow for irregular expenditure. And we want to give business to the private landlords in Pretoria area and all over the country to work together with us. We will make one more attempt tomorrow morning to engage with the service provider. They did not pitch up for a meeting that we've called on Friday. National Treasury is also turning to the courts tomorrow. And I really hope that by negotiating and talking to each other, we can find an amicable solution before we go to court.
But I guess you don't address what I was asking, though. Did you simply then stop paying because you wanted them to move from this month-to-month situation to a more firmed-up situation? And my suggestion to you is that someone will say, this was simply not open to you to do that. You could have continued paying month-to-month while putting pressure on the service provider, the landlord, to say, you are putting us in a very difficult situation in terms of our responsibilities with the Auditor General. Let's finalize this and finalize it quickly so that we shift from this regime to a more sustainable regime.
We have been engaging, but we also have to listen to the Auditor General. If the Auditor General instructs to say that this is irregular expenditure, that is why, to enable the department to deal with irregular expenditure, we issued a notice that we will no longer pay a month-to-month as from the 31st of December 2021. That is when we had made an appeal to all the landlords in March of 2021. I said, please help us. Please help us to stop irregular expenditure. So a lot of engagements took place. And I have to, as the accounting officers, we have to do what the Auditor General instructs us to do. This is not an isolated case. This is one of, I think, less than 30 or so landlords who are in this category, who still want us to continue to pay on a month-to-month basis. And we've put together a special team. We brought in an outside service provider that has worked through more than 10,000 leases. And with all of those leases where we were overcharged, we started engaging with the relevant landlords. So it is within our rights, to listen to the Auditor General when she gives us instructions what is irregular expenditure.
Yeah. So lastly then, Minister, what plan have you made for the Department, National Treasury, as well as the Department of Water and Sanitation in the meantime? Are those two ministers locked out, and what's the impact on service delivery?
It definitely does impact on service delivery. That's why if you have got a dispute that you're not able to solve amicably by negotiating, then you have to turn to the courts to rule on that dispute. But this doesn't take away from the fact that as Public Works, in the month of February, we've paid 875 million rand to all our service providers within 30 days. And this is because we have put systems in place that can prevent and detect irregular expenditure. Because paying a service provider within 30 days is an obligation under the law. So we are making good progress. We have instituted what we call a Ria Patala. We monitor invoices on a weekly basis. The Chief Financial Officer and his team meet with all our regional officers on a weekly basis. Yeah. So really overall, to improve the situation from where it was before, and we did expect that you will find some instances where there are disputes. So we are really trying our best, to stay within the framework of the law, to Lasizwe.
But in the interim, though, Minister Kotongwana and Minister Senzo Mchunu are without an office, as well as their DGs and DDGs. Just that part, Minister. I've heard the other parts that you've been addressing.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. It is the same landlord, and therefore the two ministers affected by this dispute were the Department of National Treasury. They're also proceeding to court. We are now proceeding to the court to find a solution. Yeah. Because amongst us not being able to negotiate a solution to this issue.
A question could be asked as well, Minister, that where was oversight in all of this when this situation was allowed to become a thriving ecosystem that opened up government to being overcharged all of these years? You'll know that it's very difficult when the system has thrived for so long, when you now want to sort of pull the rug from underneath people's feet, you will face resistance.
Most definitely, but you see, we also have got a mandate to stop corruption. And therefore, we are also pursuing those individuals that assign the leases on behalf of the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure, where they authorize the overpayment on leases. So it is a whole process of cleaning up the department and cleaning up the leases. In my last meeting with the Auditor General, the only issue that's holding us back to receive an unqualified audit for the first time on leases, it is this problem that we are discussing now. And we are working very hard that we can get to an unqualified audit and satisfy the Auditor General. And then these are cases that we have to deal with. And I will never, ever will we turn a blind eye to corruption in the department. That is why there are always two sides in a corruption. It's the one who receives and the other one who pays. And that is why we went to the extent to put a public advertisement in March of 2021 to say, please come forward. Mm-hmm. I even went so far as to say to the landlords, I will not personally, I will never charge you to renew your lease. Use the opportunity, work with us. So I'm really appealing to all landlords to work together with government, but not being so spiteful now to lock out National Treasury that could be seen as a key point in our country, lock out people out of their offices because of an impact on service delivery.
All right, Minister Patricia de Lille, I've got to thank you for your time and your engagement with me on this particular issue. That's Minister Patricia de Lille of the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure, just telling us about the processes to try and regularize the leasing process. Government leases a lot of buildings through mainly through her department, and basically the concern is that they've been overcharged, and in some instances there has been corruption. And pursuant to the decision that they took, that they will no longer pay month-to-month rentals, because that's where the irregular expenditure comes in. It would seem Minister Senzo Mchunu and Minister Enoch Godongwana and their officials find themselves without office space, at least for now.